There is no other character in Warframe who has made such an impact in such a short period of time for me as much as Vala Glarios has. We only encounter her for about 30 to 40 minutes, and yet in that time we meet a fierce yet damaged individual who represents the absolute best of the Corpus. So hey there guys, it's Smotown here, and today we are analysing the lore of Vala Glarios and pulling out everything we can regarding her character so we can learn more about her. A good tie-in video for this is my analysis of the Sleeping in the Cold Below lyrics, which I will link below as we do look at the lyrics in details to learn more about her. So let us start with what we definitively know about the character before we analyse her further. This section will not purport to provide any new information, rather it will act as a baseline for the rest of the analysis. Vala is a captain within the Corpus fleet, and she does introduce herself as such when we first meet her. She seems to report to and be a supporter of Parvis Granum. She invokes his name several times throughout the quest, most notably when she issues the command to contact Parvis Granum for permission to use a certain type of special ordnance against the Tempestarii. So we know that she reports to Parvos as a captain, and previously that she served at Lucretia Platform. We know from Cephalonsai's initial email at the beginning of the Call of the Tempestarii quest that the Lucretia Platform was situated in the void space red zone that we do travel to, where the Corpus convoy is snooping around. In fact, my assumption is that the wreckage that we first come across in the region of this quest is in fact the remains of Lucretia Platform. Vala served with her crew at Lucretia Platform. What her post was is unknown, but a naval captain stationed at this outpost as a military attaché is the most likely scenario for me. She was in an exosuit at the time of the Tempestari's attack, meaning she was in a space-sealed suit, and so she was the lone survivor through sheer luck and timing when her other friends died of vacuum exposure. She then drifted in space, alive but surrounded by her crewmates' corpses, for several days, before presumably being picked up by a Corpus vessel. It was during this several day period that Vala suffered immense trauma, and likely developed a form of PTSD. She imagined she was singing with her dead frozen crewmates, and it was likely here that her determination to destroy the Tempestarii was born, as she looked at the dead corpses of her former friends. So then, after an undisclosed period of time, Vala returns with a new convoy to the ruins of Lucretia Platform to search for the Tempestarii, and it would make sense that Vala's crew would start here in the search, given that this is the last place that she saw the Tempestarii. Another important line for me that we should analyse is that Vala says upon spotting the Tempestarii to tell him, Parvos, I found that ghost. To me this implies that Parvos himself is familiar with Vala's story, and I would go so far as to say that Parvos himself is the one who sanctioned her mission to track down the ghost ship. So for me these are the key basics of what we know of Vala. So now let us move on into analysing her and theorising further development of her character. The main thing that I really like about Vala is her motivations, and the way in which she does not hide her emotions. This is a very personal mission for Vala. While Granum obviously has some greater design in letting her go after the Tempestarii, void liches, in approving her mission, Vala cares only about one thing, and that is unleashing her unfettered rage on the architect of her pain, which is the Tempestarii. This mission is not necessarily a logical one for her. She even talks of dismantling the ship so she can eat its heart, an extremely emotive statement which is highly indicative of the fury that she harbours for the event that happened to her. Vengeance is a very pure emotion. Vala describes her motivation very succinctly during a very small cutscene that plays just before the Cold Below scene, and without any further details we can immediately sympathise with her and her situation. Just because of the language she uses and the way that the actress actually enunciates the words in this statement, it's a very short statement but it means very, very much to her. She uses the familial term sisters to describe how devastating the loss of her crew was. It wasn't just business, duty or a detached casualty of war for her. Vala lost what she considered to be her family. As I have mentioned, I have done a full analysis on Sleeping in the Cold Below, because I do believe the song is a way in which Vala tells us her story and her motivations in greater detail. Again, a link for that video is below, but in short, Vala is embarking on a journey of vengeance in honour of her fallen sisters. But she realises that such a journey into the void, to where the winds don't blow, so far from the solar rails and against such an enemy, will likely mean her death, but she doesn't care about this. Such is the level of the commitment that she has to her sisters. Just by using this single word, sisters, several emotions and images are conjured for me. One cannot help imagining Vala having close friends that she grew up with in the Corpus Navy, having other near-death experiences with them during their service that they may have had, and further increasing their bond, maybe even sharing a beer during downtime. This is what I imagine of Vala and her past friends, just with the use of that word, sisters. Yet all of this is gone in the blink of an eye, because of a broken Orcan rescue ship. It's unfair, it's unjust. Her cause is sympathetic, it's just that we find herself on the other side of this conflict, and so we end up bringing peace to Sevagoth at the cost of Vala's peace. I'd also like to highlight the extreme courage that Vala and her crew have, and that we should admire this even though she is our enemy. A commentator on my Cold Below analysis video, Felus Imperator, which the comment is now pinned on that video should you want to have a read of it, made a really great point. They mentioned the fact that railjacks are called such because they do not rely on solar rails, and that they can brave the deep space and survive. Vala's ships, however, enjoy no such advantage. They are designed to travel over the solar rail routes. She is essentially braving the deep of space to take on a powerful armed Orcan-era ship that brings void storms in its wake, that can travel through the void with ease. Despite these myriad disadvantages, Vala has no problem braving the challenge. No doubt she is spurred on by her desire to vengeance, yet I do think it is worth reminding the audience that we as Tenno enjoy many advantages that enemies do not. Even as the Tempestarii unleashes its void weaponry upon her, and she faces certain death, Vala does not weep or ask for mercy. No, she ends cursing her enemy and calling upon her dead sisters to haunt us from the grave. Even in her potential death, she does not let go of her rage, her fury, or her courage. She doesn't know that Parvus is going to save her. In her mind, she is facing certain death, and yet she refuses to be broken. All that being said, I do think she is equipped the best that she can be for this mission. When we first come into contact with her and her warship, Cephalonsai immediately wants to flee because he thinks that we would lose a direct gunfight against such a powerful vessel, so it's obviously a powerful warship. There is something here as well if you look more closely at the dialogue, and it shows the danger that a Parvos-led Corpus poses, again, a subject for another video, but it's worth looking at. Vala requests permission from Parvus to use multiphasic ordnance. Multiphasic ordnance to me means a weapon that has something to do with different dimensions or different realms. Given that Parvos has some command or some understanding about dimensions and time manipulation through his study of Protea, this would make sense. This is worth looking at in more detail in a Parvos video, but it is worth noting that Vala is equipped to deal with the trans-dimensional Tempestarii, as she is in possession of special ammunition, courtesy of her mentor, Parvus Granum. One final thing to note is that at the end of her story, she finds herself in the Granum Pocket Realm, presumably brought here by Granum just before the moment of her death, through some void trickery. If you look closely, her eyes now sparkle with some kind of void energy, and there's a good chance that she has somehow been changed by her experience. Granum has plans, multi-dimensional void plans, but I think that we should leave that for the subject of a separate video. So thanks guys, that is my take on Vala, the captain of the Corpus fleet, who is an extremely interesting character, who despite only meeting her for a very short period of time, has had a great impact on me and presumably a lot of others. If you like this video, please consider giving it a subscribe and a like, as I do Warframe content. But until next time guys, I will see you in the cold below, and take care.